See if anybody jumps on here. I'm waiting for one person, just one person to jump on to talk about this Garcia Romero fight. There we go. Do we have one person? I see a thumbs up. You know what? Boxing is the theater of the unexpected, right? And this is where the truth is told in the ring. Ryan Garcia is not elite. He proved that. He proved that in the Devin Haney fight. Listen, I was rooting against Ryan Garcia in the Haney fight. Even with the knockdowns, I thought it was a 1-point fight. Now, Ryan Garcia tested positive for PEDs. And then guess what happens tonight? He proves he is not an elite fighter. Boxing is the theater of the unexpected. And seeing Rolly Romero win this fight was beautiful. It was crazy. It was like Garcia never responded from the knockdown in the second round. It was not a great fight. It was not a great card. But Ryan Garcia did nothing. Ryan Garcia is not a great fighter. And yet he's continued to be talked about as the best American fighter. But he's not. He's not. I don't know. It's obviously a mental thing because physically he's got the talent. He's got power. He's got speed. And everybody thought he was going to knock out Romero tonight. Everybody. And he didn't. He didn't because the ring tells the truth. The ring tells the truth. And tonight, Rolly Romero was the better fighter. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And by the way, Jim Lampley is back. How good was it, Andre? Can't believe what we just witnessed. Hayden Chrome, hi. Luffy, hello, good morning. Name Charles, hello. Listen, what a beautiful night. We had Jim Lampley back on the microphone. For people that don't know, and nobody knows, no one knows me. I was at HBO for 15 years. And I worked with Jim Lampley for 15 years. And to hear him back on the mic, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Him and Antonio Tarver and even Coppinger. And I've been heavy on Coppinger. I never thought Coppinger was good, but he was good tonight. He was good tonight. But Jim Lampley was amazing. It was like he never left. It was a very boring card. I mean, Devin Haney. Look, Devin Haney won the goal is to win, right? And Haney won, and Garcia didn't. But Devin Haney fought like he was scared. He was scared of getting hit. He fought like he was afraid to get hit. It's boxing. Everybody gets hit. Everybody gets hit. And he fought like he was afraid to get hit. So, he won, but the fight I want to see is Devin Haney and Romero. Don't have this rematch with Garcia. Devin Haney and Rolly Romero. That's what I want to see. Nathan Charles says hello. Brandon Mitchell, how much to shave an eyebrow? Wait, what? My eyebrow? Beautiful. And then you got Mike Tyson. I'm watching the post-fight right now. Mike Tyson's up there. The highlight of the night for me was Jim Lampley. This was his comeback. Teofimo Lopez was dominant. He had easily the best performance of the night was Teofimo Lopez. Devin Haney fought scared. He He fought like he was afraid to get hit against a guy with no power. So, does that bode well for the future? I don't know. Maybe this was just one fight to get his legs back. I don't. We'll see, right? We'll see. Ryan Garcia, was it the Ostarine? Was it the PEDs? I don't know. Boxing analyst, my man says the best part of the night was the location. Yes, that's true. Look, Ryan Garcia, was it the PEDs? I don't know. He looked like a totally different fighter against Devin Haney. Um, but let's remember, let's look back to that Devin Haney fight. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Besides the knockdowns, Devin Haney, I think, won more rounds in that fight than Ryan Garcia did. And Ryan Garcia was, no matter what he says, he was on PEDs. He was on something. Um, Boxing analyst, he barely threw punches. Exactly. It was. It's a mental thing, right? It's a mental thing. Um, the first round, Garcia won it, I thought. Second round, he got dropped, and it was a complete mental breakdown. He. How many times in that fight did he throw a three-punch combination? Twice? Boxing analyst says he might have been rocked from the first knockdown the whole fight. Exactly. Devin and Ryan both look bad tonight. Ryan just lost. Yeah, they did both look bad, but Mr. Big Play Bray, the most important thing is that Devin Haney won. And honestly, the most important thing is winning. And Devin Haney won. Ryan Garcia did not. Now, Mike Coppinger brought up a good point. Um, when Zab Judah lost to Carlos Baldomir, Zab Judah was in line to fight Floyd Mayweather in a big unification fight at 147. So Zab Judah lost at the theater to Carlos Baldomir, yet boxing still matched up Floyd Mayweather and Zab Judah. So could this be the same thing? Could we see Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia next? Sure, we could, because this is boxing and they make up their own rules. Boxing analyst, time to think outside the box. Scroll by decision. Oh, no way, bro. No way. No, I'm sorry. It has there ever. When's the last time a Canelo fight had less juice, had less uh, intrigue, drama? Skull. Look, Antonio Tarver said the most honest thing when Jim Lampley asked him about this earlier in the night. He said, to me, Skull does not pass the eye test. And I agree with that. I'm going to watch because that's what I do. Nobody cares about this Canelo Skull fight, and Skull's not going to win this fight. But Ryan Garcia got his ass beat tonight. He got his ass beat tonight. But let's see how the boxing politics play out. I think that Devin Haney and Romero should fight. Although Romero is a welterweight now, and Haney is a 140 pounder. Boxing is baffling. It's baffling. The highlight of tonight was Jim Lampley being back on the microphone. Jim Lampley is my friend. I support Jim Lampley. It was like he never missed a beat. He was honest. He criticized. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Jim Lampley. Okay? He hadn't called a fight in 6-7 years. He sounded like he had never been gone. Jim Lampley was like Magic Johnson. He was dishing layups to Antonio Tarver, to Mike Coppinger, to Mike Tyson. He was dishing layups. He gets everyone involved. And he was brutally honest. During the Haney fight, he said, in this atmosphere, Times Square in New York, This is the only type of fight this is the only reason people could possibly fall asleep, because the Haney Ramirez fight was that boring. Jim Lampley's not afraid to criticize what Turki Al-Sheikh puts out there. And that's a beautiful thing. Most announcers, they're homers, and they know the deal. They know that they're going to support their network. They know that they're going to support their fighters. And that is exactly what they're going to do no matter what. And Jim Lampley, look, Jim Lampley is 76 years old. Jim Lampley is a Hall of Famer. He is in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay? Jim Lampley is going to tell the truth. He told the truth. The Haney Ramirez fight was dreadfully dull. It was dreadfully dull. And in that main event, Ryan Garcia proved that he is not the best American fighter out there. He's not the best American fighter. Not by a long shot. He's not more talented than Boots Ennis, but he's got the social media following, and that's the problem with boxing. That's why I haven't been on YouTube a lot lately. Because if you don't act like a clown and wear idiotic things and talk like a fool, then you don't get followers. And I don't do that. So I just like to speak the truth. Romero is now mandatory for Ennis. Bizarre night of fight, says Butterfingers. It was bizarre. I mean, Teo looked good, you know? He was if there was going to be a fighter of the night, I think it was him. Although Romero pulling the upset, the huge upset. So Romero is mandatory for Ennis. All right, let's see him. Let's see him in Ennis fight. Although Teofimo says he wants to fight Boots, so it's nice that there are options. But it was a weird night. But the best part of the night was Jim Lampley. And honestly, it was like he never left. Do you realize, Butterfingers, everybody happy to show up and collect a paycheck? Yeah, Teo put on the best show, yeah. Do you realize that Jim Lampley is 76 years old? When you hear him, look, he looks older. He's got the gray hair. I get it. But when you hear him call the fights with the passion he has, with the insight he has, there's nobody better. And just imagine if these were great fights, how much better it would have been. This was Jim elevating the broadcast with, I mean, if I had to grade this card, it was a C. Great, big upset in the main event. But Devin Haney, I'm still baffled that Devin Haney fought scared. He fought like he was afraid to be hit. And Ryan Garcia fought like he didn't care. Ryan Garcia fought like he didn't care. That's just being honest. You know, props to Turki Al-Sheikh for putting on these fights, but it was not a great card. And I never thought it was going to be a great card. Now, the first two fights went pretty much how I thought they would go. The main event did not go how I thought it would go. It didn't go how anyone thought it would go. Rolling Romero has not looked good in quite a long time. Barroso, he looked terrible. He got run out of the ring by Isaac Cruz. He won his last fight, but Rolly Romero looked like an accident waiting to happen. And Ryan Garcia, coming off that drug-fueled win, later changed to a no decision against Devin Haney. And I still go back to that fight. Ryan, Butterfingers, Steven. Ryan needed an Instagram model DM for motivation. Ryan just, I don't know what to say about him. I really don't. But let's think back to that the Devin Haney fight. He knocked down Haney twice. I don't remember twice. And I was rooting for Devin Haney because I was not a fan of Ryan Garcia and all the the pre-fight theatrics that he pulled. Um, I was rooting for Devin Haney. Devin Haney won a lot of rounds in that fight. He won a lot of rounds in that fight. And, Ryan ended up winning. Obviously changed to a no decision. But that second round, it was a beautiful thing. To see him drop like that and to see him react the way he did. When he got dropped against Luke Campbell, and I brought this up when I used to work for Pro Box, I brought this up to Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri. Ryan Garcia got dropped against Luke Campbell, and he came back like a champ. Now, Rolly Romero is a better fighter than Luke Campbell. Ryan got dropped, but he didn't appear to be too hurt. But after that second round, he did nothing. He had no fire. He had no desire. Is it because he's got millions of Instagram followers and social media followers? I don't know. He's making a lot of money from social media, I'm sure. He doesn't seem to have any hunger as a fighter, because against Luke Campbell, when he was dropped, he came back. Against Rolly Romero, he was dropped and did nothing. He laid down. Like, he laid down. He laid down. Steven says, Ryan was never elite to me, but did show a jab and got rid of his cards. That's all he showed, was a jab. He was afraid to let his hands go. When you're a fighter, I boxed. When you let your hands go, you are susceptible to being hit. He was hit in that second round and he was dropped. So he said, I'm not going to throw my hands. If I land one shot here, one shot there and hurt him, I'll go after him. But he didn't. Butterfinger says, it was great to hear Jim back at it. Legend. Congrats to Rolly, but he sure didn't look like a huge underdog that just won a title. Maybe that venue had something to do with it. No fire, no desire. Well put. Well, I mean, those are easy words to put to what I saw. That Ryan Garcia had no fire, had no desire. When he got dropped, he looked like he did not want to be there. He looked like a guy that the old Marvin Hagler theory about when you go to bed in silk pajamas, you're not hungry to wake up in the morning and train. Ryan Garcia looks like that, and he's only 26 years old. I don't think it's going to get any better. Derek James is a hell of a trainer. Told him all the right things. He didn't listen. I think he believed he was going to tag Rolly, and Rolly was going to quit, because Rolly, honestly, against Isaac Cruz, looked scared. I never seen Rolly look like that. Yes, he got knocked out by Tank, but Tank gave him much respect in that fight. Much respect. When Rolly fought Isaac Cruz, he looked terrified. And he didn't look great in his last fight. I thought he was on his last legs. And then boxing is the theater of the unexpected. And that's why we love it. That's why we love it. I have not had much inspiration to be on YouTube, because I'm not a clown. I don't like wear costumes and act like an idiot like a lot of people on here. I just like to spit facts and talk truth and celebrate the past and celebrate the present. Bruce, what's up, brother? So I haven't had much reason to be on here, because I'm not a clown. I'm not a clown. I'm not going to wear, crazy hats on my head and act like a fool, because that's what it takes to be successful on YouTube, and I don't give a fuck about that. What I love is the history of the sport, and I can tell you, 2 weeks ago, I'm working on a documentary series on some great fights in boxing. 2 weeks ago, I spent a day with Andre Berto talking about his first fight with Victor Ortiz. If you haven't seen that fight, look it up on YouTube. It was a great fight, and it's going to be a great show. Stephen Tio's up and down, but when he's on, he's impressive. Tio versus Devin can be a good fight. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, but Tia wants to fight Boots. Devin, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But anyway, like I was saying, my life has been immersed in this doc series that I'm working on. It's called Return to the Ring, and it's some great, mostly HBO fights, some USA fights. Um, Kevin Kelly, Troy Dorsey, look it up, check it out. Tim Bradley, Ruslan Provodnikov, Chris Algieri, Jermaine Taylor, Kelly Pavlik. That's what my life has been immersed in. Um, Working on a documentary on those fights and more. Chris Ariola, Tomas Adamek, um, Andre Berto, Victor Ortiz, among others. Trying to get Shane Mosley. Uh, I'm sorry, Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito too. So my life has been immersed in storytelling, so I haven't had time for YouTube because YouTube, most of it's a clown show. You know, it's YouTube has become the National Enquirer. You know, you're talking shit about fighters. It's racism. It's this. It's that. It's not. Most of it is not just celebrating the fighters and the fights and the stories, and that's what I'm about. So, um, Provo's in some great fights, was a beast. Listen, Ruslan Provodnikov, and I got to interview him last summer at the Wild Card. He was in town for Terrence Crawford's fight with Madrimov, and I got an interview with him. So he was a cool guy, man. He had a lot of respect for Tim Bradley, not so much for Chris Algieri. Not so much for Chris Algieri. And Chris Algieri beat him. I'm sorry, Chris. Chris beat him. Steven says, what did you think of Tarver tonight? Always thought he was great during the Showtime days. My personal preference would have been Jim Lampley and Roy Jones. But Antonio Tarver was awesome. Jim, listen, Jim is like Magic Johnson. So whoever you put him in there with, he's dishing here. He's dishing there. He's alley-ooping, assist, behind back, through the legs. He's setting up his teammates. Jim Lampley elevates the telecast. He makes it better. I thought Tarver was good, and I gotta be honest. Look, me personally, I would love to be on these shows in some capacity. And I was kind of shitting on Mike Coppinger. Mike Coppinger came up with some good points. I don't think he's a very good post-fight interviewer, but he had some good points during the fight. But I think, again, Jim Lampley made him better. Bob Arum is fuming right now. Well, listen, no, he's not, because Arum's got Tio. So Bob Arum is happy. He's happy. Steven, how is Ruslan health-wise? He took a lot of punishment in the ring. Ruslan Provodnikov, go follow him on Instagram. He has got a big presence on Instagram. Now, look, he speaks Russian, which I don't speak. I was in his presence for 3 or 4 hours, interviewed him, and was at the wild card with him and Freddie Roach. He seems like his mind is clear. Again, there's the language barrier, but he's got a family. He lives in Siberia. He's very active on Instagram, and he's got a job for the government, I believe, in Siberia. So, it was nice to see that Provodnikov is not suffering physically. And in fact, he's thriving. His health is good, and you would think that he did take a lot of punishment, but his health is great. And two of the shows of the Return to the Rings have Ruslan Provodnikov. We're going to try and do about 10 of these, but he was so good The Bradley Provodnikov show is thrilling, and the Provodnikov Algieri show is amazing. If you remember, this is a decade ago, over a decade ago. Bradley Provodnikov was the fight of the year in 2013. I got to sit down with these guys and talk to both of them. 2014, Provodnikov Algieri was the upset of the year. Chris Algieri, after getting dropped twice in the first round, comes back to win a decision. It's a beautiful thing, and boxing is the only sport that can. Boxing is the only sport with such drama. You never know what's going to happen, and uh, they would just the the interviews were the subjects were well spoken, and this return to the ring when it comes out, it's going to be an amazing series. It's very much based on HBO's Legendary Nights, which I had a part of. I'm happy to say I was with HBO 15 years, and it was a thrilling series and a Sports Emmy award-winning series. This is just as good. And Kevin Kelly, Troy Dorsey, if you haven't seen that fight, that was on USA Network. Tuesday Night Fights. What a fight. But it's not just about the fights, it's about the stories, and that's what I love. Um, and tonight, when you think about the story of tonight, the resurrection. 10 years ago today, Floyd fought Manny. Were you with HBO for that fight? No, Bruce, I was not. Um, I left in 2014, and wow, 10 years ago today. Well, that was a very anticlimactic fight. Um, Listen, if you really thought about it back then, you knew that Floyd was going to beat Manny back then. Maybe a few years before, I would have given Manny a shot, but not then. Not then. But wow, that's 10 years ago. 10 years ago. But what a night tonight. Rolly Romero resurrected his career. Rolly Romero was like that close to his career not being over, because it seems like careers never end, but he was this close to not being a player anymore. And look what he did. He kicked, listen, make no mistake, Rolly Romero kicked Ryan Garcia's ass. Ryan Garcia couldn't do anything with him after that second round. Rolly saved the show. Shout out to Rolly. And that was not a great fight either. But Ryan Garcia, after that second round, that wasn't the mark of a great fighter. I come from a different era. I come from a different era. My favorite fighter of all time is a fighter by the name of Sugar Ray Leonard. 1981, I'm 11 years old. 11 years old. Sugar Ray Leonard fights Tommy Hearns. First fight. He's getting outboxed. Sugar Ray Leonard almost has Tommy out of there in round 6 and 7. I mean, Hearns is all over the ring. He's getting battered all over the ring. It looks like Sugar Ray Leonard's going to knock him out, but Tommy Hearns comes back and he starts to outbox Sugar Ray Leonard. Angelo Dundee tells him in the corner he's blowing the fight. Guess what? Sugar Ray Leonard, he went from the boxer to the puncher. And Sugar Ray Leonard found that special something, and he knocked out. I'm getting a oh man. I texted Jim after the fight. He just responded. Um, but anyway, Sugar Ray Leonard was my guy. He was a special type of fighter. Now that's a high pedestal. Nobody on the card tonight is a Sugar Ray Leonard. And that's not a knock. It's just what it is. Ryan Garcia is, I guess, the top American social media fighter. If there was a social media ranking, Ryan Garcia is number one. Ryan Garcia got his ass kicked by Rolly Romero. Ryan Garcia would get annihilated by Boots Ennis. Annihilated. So, Bruce, did you notice Rolly held his right hand protecting his chin all night? You know what? And that's another thing about Rolly. I didn't think he was that smart. And you're right. Bruce, you're right. His right hand all night long. Hold the phone. That's what great fighters say. Hold the phone. Keep your hands up and you can stop a lot of damage. Hold the phone. And you're right. Bruce Rolly held that hand up all night long. Steve never understood why people were so high on Ryan. I get he's marketable, but he's one dimensional. Listen, well, you get it. Steven, he's a good looking guy, right? He's got millions of social media followers. When you look at the physical skills, he's got speed, he's got power, but he doesn't put it together against elite opponents. He just doesn't. This is his second loss. He got knocked out by Tank. He got decisioned by Rolly Romero, of all people. Now, that was the bet to make. Thoughts on, oh man, Harvey Elliott, thoughts on Pac Barrios. I have a history with Manny Pacquiao when I was with HBO. I've interviewed him several times. I don't want to see him fight again. I don't. First of all, boxing is a fucking joke if they give Manny Pacquiao a title shot after he hasn't fought since he got his ass beat by Ugas. How many years ago? If he gets a title shot, Barrios is going to beat the shit out of him. He's not Manny Pacquiao, the great fighter, anymore. He's just not. You get older. You can't do the things you did. I used to be a runner. I could run 149 for the 800 meters. I can't do that now. I can't because I'm older and I'm different. When you're talking about a sport where you're being punched in the face, Manny Pacquiao can't get boxing out of his system, and I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him. I hope he doesn't fight again. Go back and watch his exhibition fight. He had an exhibition fight against someone. I don't know the guy's name, and he looked terrible. He looked terrible. If he fights Barrios, he'll lose, and he'll look terrible. What's up, Mikey? All is good. I had a good night watching boxing. Listen, I had thoughts on going to Times Square. A friend and a fan of Jim Lampley's. I said, I'm staying home. I'm staying home so I could watch my guy Jim Lampley call fights. And that was a highlight for me. Not a great card. I'll tell you, DAZN, I hate DAZN's production. They don't go to the corners enough. They don't care about the stories. And I know the producer for the fight, who was an HBO producer. DAZN has their own agenda, and you have to do what they say. So be it. I mean, I think DAZN just does a terrible job of following a fight and telling a story. They're more interested in commercials and promos rather than during a fight let you, the fans, hear the corners. In that Teofimo Lopez fight, he got rocked in that 6th round. Barboza hit him with a big shot, hurt him. When the 6th round ended, they should have went to Lopez's corner and let us listen to the corner, and they didn't. DAZN doesn't know how to fucking tell a story. They don't know how to tell a story. They don't care about the boxing fan. They don't care about telling a story. They want to suck you in and show their promos to their next fights. Mike, none of these entities have production like HBO did, even replay-wise. Exactly. Mike, it is what it is. And the live producer was a guy who did a ton of HBO fights, but he's Obviously, the zone has they have their narrative they want to do. So the commissions that sanction, Steven says, the commissions that sanction these fights are to blame. They allowed a blind Margarito into the ring. Oh, you talking about the New York Athletic Commission? Listen, it's funny you bring that up, Steven, because I produced I produced a 24/7 for Cotto Margarito 2, and I was in Margarito's camp. Again, if you haven't seen that, go to YouTube, check that out. It was the best. Besides the first two 24/7s that were barred on the best, this was the best. Never got sent in for an Emmy. That's a whole other political thing about the bullshit that happened at HBO. But anyway, I was in Margarito's camp, and I saw his eye, his pupil was always dilated, and his eye was bigger. The one that Pacquiao smashed up, which good for him because he's a fucking cheat, Margarito. Um, he shouldn't have been allowed to fight that fight. But listen, it's about boxing is boxing, and New York is corrupt. The organization, the sanctioning bodies are corrupt. This was a big money fight. I mean, we were doing a 24/7 on this fight. You think that New York was not going to sanction this fight? Whatever. Come on. We had no doubt. New York was going to sanction this fight. And Margarito, they waited till he got bashed and he got the eye cracked on a few times, and then they stopped the fight. Jokey jokes, Jim Lampley should stay retired. Well, jokey jokes, why don't you call the fights? Look, I know you're a troll, so but Margarito should have never been in that ring. Should have never been in that ring for the Cotto rematch, but it was big money, so they let that go. They let it go. But what a night. Jim Lampley, despite what Jokey Joke says, Jim Lampley is back. Who's better than Jim Lampley? I'll just put that out there. Jim Lampley is 76 years old. Who's better than Jim right now? Who? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nobody. No, thank you, Irie. He might not be the greatest of all time, but he is great. Mike, they shouldn't have allowed him to fight ever again. I agree. Yeah, but you know what? Money rules, Mike, and boxing is dirty. Boxing is dirty. These organizations are slimy. They're all scumbags. When I went to college, my television professor said, television is a business. The purpose of a business is to make money, and I've used that about everything. The purpose of a business is to make money, and boxing is about money. The organizations are about money. Stephen, Jim is great, but I always preferred Al Bernstein. That's a personal thing. That's a personal thing. Al Bernstein is a go-to, Stephen. Al Bernstein is a go-to. He's I always, if you go back to the Hagler Hearns fight, as good as Barry Tompkins and Larry Merchant were for HBO, Al Michaels and Al Bernstein, that call for Hagler Hearns, that's my favorite call. That's my favorite call. So you look, listen, Jim is great. Who you prefer is who you prefer. I want to hear Jim Lampley call more fights. That's all. Because he still has a passion for it, and he's still great at it. And this was a listen, action-wise, Jim Lampley, when the stakes are high and the action is great, there's nobody better than Jim Lampley calling a fight. The stakes were high in one of these fights. The action was not there, and Jim delivered. Jim was the man. So, listen, it was good to be live again. I'm about to jump off here. Again, I've had no motivation because I'm not a fucking clown like most of the people on here. I'm not talking about racism. I'm not the National Enquirer. Just talking dirt on fighters. I just like to talk about the fights and the stories. And tonight, Rolly Romero resurrected his career. Teofimo Lopez showed his dominance. And Devin Haney left a lot of questions. In boxing, you know you're going to be hit, and he fought like he was scared to be hit. And this was against a guy who doesn't have much power. So maybe it was just the first fight back. We'll see. You can't. Everyone's quick to judge fighters on their last fight and forget about their entire career. Devin Haney looked shitty. He looked scared, but he won. Guess who didn't win? Who? Who? Ryan Garcia. The fighter that people say was the best U.S. fighter out there. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's the most popular. He's not the best fighter, and he never, ever will be. All right. Mike, I didn't see the Ryan fight. How'd it go? Read about it, Mike. He fought. Ryan got dropped in the second round, and he fought the rest of the fight like he didn't give a shit, like he didn't care. He was scared to throw punches. He didn't let his hands go. He had no passion. He had no desire. He is never going to be a great fighter. That's what he showed me. I hope he proves me wrong. He showed against Rolly Romero he will never, ever be a great fighter. Period. All right. I'm out.